Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Real Talks Podcast. Here's a new episode with a good friend of mine who I recently met at 10X Stages with Pete Vargas. Caleb Bullard, my bro, how you doing, man?
I am great. I like to say blessed and highly favored, right?
Love that. So, Caleb, you and I met at the 10X Stages. I, you introduced yourself as a fellow U.S. veteran like myself, and you're also a financial executive strategist. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about what you do and what you help other people with.
Yeah, like Jay said, my name is Caleb Bullard, and being a financial strategist, I help those that have investments towards retirement from stressing about the losses in the market. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, we saw the market dip over 1,000 points, and
Wow.
a lot of people just don't have the financial education, the financial awareness to be able to be in different programs and products, policies that are going to prevent any losses in the market. But they still get
Yeah.
up or participate in that upside.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, and it's absolutely correct. I'm a small investor when it comes to growth stocks, a little bit of crypto here and there, and real estate. So I definitely know the value of having a financial advisor strategist on your side. Personally, I'm running a couple of small businesses, and I'm a family guy, so I don't really have a lot of time to do my own research and all of that stuff. And if you're investing your money into something, you can't just wing it. And so I love the fact that there's people like you who are helping people like myself get better when it comes to financial education, have a good strategy. But for you, before you got into this specific role, could you let our viewers and our listeners know like what you were doing prior to?
Yeah, I really feel like you're gonna find your passion eventually.
Yeah.
And for me, I want to be just like my dad. So my dad was a former jarhead. He worked with a lot of guys in the Navy like yourself, Jay. They work, hand
Oh
in hand
yeah.
with things in the Navy.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I want to get into the military. So that's what I did. Right out of high school, I joined the military. I went Army myself. Was in the
Yeah.
Army 6 years, a combat medic. I thought I was gonna be like in the hospitals. They're like, nope, you're going out into the field. You're going with the
Right.
infantry. So I was attached to the infantry. Did a lot of like training, kind of like ground and pound stuff with the Army. And I ended up having a back injury from all that. The 6 years,
Mm.
just a lot of training incidents, things like that. One
Yeah.
thing to another. You know how it is. I think it's so impressive that you yourself was able to retire from the military. Because for me, I did 6 years, and after that, I was like, I'm done. I can't continue to do this. It's too tough on the body, and I
Yeah.
walked away with just some back injuries. But regardless, my dad was also a police officer, and I want to make a difference with my life. I want to make an impact, and I'm sure it's a lot of the people listening into this that have good hearts. They want to make a difference with their lives. They want to feel a sense of purpose. So
Yeah.
I continued that in law enforcement. Went to college, got my degree, became a police officer. But that injury kind of forced me out of law enforcement after a couple of years because I don't know if you know any police officers yourself. There's a lot of sitting in the patrol car, weight of the
Yeah.
vest, weight of the belt, on your lower back, it causes problems over time. So after 2 years of being in a lot of pain, I said, I got to put this aside and try and find something else. And at that same time, I'm sure
Mm.
you guys can recall, COVID-19 and how that affected the markets. I mean, I saw my grandparents' 401k go down by 20, 30%, Jay. And to
Wow.
see that from somebody that I deeply care about, where they worked,
Right.
20, 30 plus years,
Yeah.
really.
More. Probably more. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And they had to come out of their golden years, which they should have been enjoying, to go
Right.
work again because the market was already down. They didn't want to pull from their account as the market was down because it's kind of like a double whammy that way. So
Yeah.
I set out to try and find the right information. I've spent over six figures on different mentors, courses, programs, connecting with great people like yourself, Jay, just trying to get the right information. And now that I have it, I'm just trying to share it with everybody that I can and provide that level of um, education, and that
Right.
me purpose and fulfillment, knowing that I'm not only getting myself out of that situation from that happening to me, but also everybody else that I know and come across.
Bro, first of all, thank you for acknowledging as me as a fellow vet, and want to say thank you as well for your service, not only as a soldier, as a combat medic, which I know like the kind of hardest duty you have to do in the work and sacrifice you have to put in. But at the same time, as a law enforcement officer, like your father, which is pretty cool, man. I love hearing that. You pretty much tried to follow your father's footsteps. Very, very honorable duties, in both sides. But yeah, as we get older and as we get hurt, sometimes our physical body kind of prevents us from taking that route as well. But with financial education, I mean, it's very true. I barely started really truly understanding it about 2 to 3 years ago, so it wasn't that long. Just like many other people, probably 99% of the people uh, are not financially, literate, right? Not necessarily just are counting monies or whatnot or budgeting, but more so of like, letting your money work for yourself. And that's very important. And so with you, man, like how did you get into specifically, okay, you see that there's a opportunity here and then there's a lot of value we can provide to people or you could provide to people. But um, like how did you get into, all right, you don't, you were doing law enforcement, you couldn't do that because of your back, but specifically like the company that you represent now or your partnership, how did that come about?
Yeah, so a lot of people they look at entrepreneurism, they're watching this podcast, like, oh, that looks easy, like I can do that. Or they see these
Yeah.
people like, Grant Cardone, that, he supports the 10X stages, Pete Vargas, and people look at them. It's very easy to see the end result and be like,
Yeah.
okay, oh wow, they're so successful. But it takes a lot of things that don't work out. It takes a lot of, I mean, more than, just as well as I do, that your resolve, your ability to just like bounce back from,
Yes.
setbacks really makes or breaks you in the space of entrepreneurism. So I've tried a lot of different things starting out in the space. When I was looking for other opportunities, it just took using the information that's out there currently. So you got access to YouTube. There's so many different channels. I mean, you've got Reddit, a lot of different ways you can do your own research without actually
Right.
spending a penny. But eventually, as you progress in it, you're going to want to get more and more information and get that in-depth information from somebody that's already done it. It does come with a price tag, and that's the awesome thing about these podcasts is you
Yeah.
can speed up that learning curve by learning from somebody like Jay, from myself, that
Right.
have already gone down that road and kind of like work you through the maze because we've already been to the other side of it, and I can see where you're at and be like, okay, no, don't turn left, turn right, go here, go there. So that's the great thing about working with Jay, myself. So I did the same thing. I brought on a lot of different mentors, coaches to coach me, and I did a lot of reading. Reading is a great thing that you can do as well. I mean, you
Yeah.
go to the library, you can pick up some great books. All of Grant Cardone's books are great. Do you have any books, Jay? I can't. I think you have one published book, right?
Just one, and it's actually right behind me. And excuse me, I'm a little under the weather if you could hear me sniffle, but yes, I do. Oh, there you go. Sorry.
It's
Yeah,
upside down.
yeah, no, it's
Oh,
um, there you go.
yeah,
How to start a business and grow it? As you can probably see, I got my 10x there, my
yeah,
pin, and for sure. I mean, it's reading a lot of books, for personal and professional growth, I think is very important.
yeah,
And I'm kind of aligned in that same direction of, financial, not necessarily as a strategist or whatnot, but we help, business owners and other entrepreneurs with their financial goals as well. So it kind of, having you in my network is actually very beneficial and vice versa. Right. So super, super cool. But yeah, no, I wrote this book about it got published last October. So it's yeah, pretty cool. But you're
awesome.
absolutely correct. I heard you mention earlier you spent over six figures in your personal and professional growth, right? Not many people are gonna be like, supportive of that. Majority of the people are like, dude, Caleb, what are you doing? You're spending six figures on your on
Right.
on on all these other courses or coaching programs, which are all scam. But what are your thoughts on that? Because me personally, I've in the last, I'd say probably 18 to 24 months in between there, I've spent over 200,000 plus dollars in my personal and professional growth. That includes, um, attending mastermind, paying for workshops, other leadership courses, and how to grow my business with 10x, and all of those other things, and to include like traveling, the hotel, flights, they all cost a lot of money, right? Like for example, when we went it cost about $5,000,
Yeah.
and flying from one side of the country to, from, like, for me, for example, from the West Coast, California, all the way to Miami, all the way to the other side, so it takes some time and all that stuff. But going back to my question, like, Caleb, for you, like, why do you invest in yourself? I mean, obviously, you and I know what the answer is, but for our listeners who's like, all right, that's way too much money to be spending on that kind of stuff, man. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I love to answer that question because I actually do get that frequently when I'm talking to people about, investing in yourself. And also it's hard to ask other people to invest in themselves if you haven't done the same yourself. But that's just a sidebar.
Yeah,
I look at the current opportunities you have coming out of high school, right? So you can go to college, you can start a business, you could do something where like you could work at Walmart, something like that, and try and like climb that corporate scale. But it's going to be difficult because you just don't have the credibility
yeah,
from a college degree or something like that. So I mean, you got doctors that are getting into four or $500,000 in debt to go to school to be a doctor. You got attorneys, and I mean they're making good money, but I mean they're capped still with the amount of money that they can make because there's only
yeah,
so many hours in a day unless they wanted to eventually establish their own practice, become a business owner of that practice. But the way I look at it is, yes, I'm taking an investment and I'm putting it into myself, but I know it's going to pay back tenfold with this opportunity. I mean, even just like a partnership with yourself, like to start a business, get it growing, you're going
yeah.
to be able to receive funds while like you're sleeping. It's all about creating passive income. There's a great book called it's by Robert Kiyosaki, and he talks about the ESBI, Rich Dad Poor Dad, where he talks about you start out as an employee, right, and then you go into self-employed, and then you become a business owner, and then you become an investor, and it's just you follow that cycle. So it's just staying committed, staying disciplined, figuring out like what you want, why you want it, and if you're willing to actually make the sacrifices to achieve what you want. Because if you're not, there's no point of starting down that journey. Because once you start hitting that first wall, the second wall, the third wall, you're going to give up and go back to what you're used to. So why even waste the time if you're not that committed? So Grant Cardone talks a lot about in his book called uh, what's it? The 10x. It's
Dennis Rulebook.
Yeah, I think it's that one. He talks about the power of making committed decisions, just being committed and making
Right,
10x goals and just going big and not going small because I don't want to be 80 years old and think, what if, right? I'd rather risk it all and, fall flat on my face. And the thing is, you can always pick yourself back up. Like, people
right.
don't realize that. I mean, it's different too for each person. Some people might have a family, the risk tolerance isn't as high as, somebody that doesn't. But the thing is, like, I just tell people just go for it. If you got something you really want to do, what's the worst that can happen? You just go back to what you were doing beforehand or pick up and try and start again. There's always going to be things that you learn. People talk about like failing forward, and that's the beauty of it. In this space, even with mentors, even with coaches, they can't teach you everything. There's some things just going to be learned by you getting out there in the field and doing it. You can sit there with your coach and watch footage and look at exactly how to run plays, look at the playbook. But until you get out there on the field and you do it yourself, there's going to be things that you learn that you just can't learn sitting there in like the classroom setting. So I encourage people, get out there, take action. You're going to learn things as the way. It's not going to be perfect. Grant talks about done is better than perfect. And then you're just going to continue to fail forward. You get better and better the more you do it. It just comes with reps. I mean, you look at somebody like Steph Curry. I don't know if you're into like basketball or not, Jay,
Okay,
but he shoots something crazy like 500 shots a day. And that's how he can,
yeah.
throw a 3-pointer up and he just turns around and knows it went in because he's put the reps in to know that, he's worked out all those little kinks with his shot.
I love that. I love that analogy, and you're right. Now, Steph Curry is obviously as we both know, he's the greatest shooter alive, and he will be for many many years until somebody replaces him who's better than him, which is going to be pretty difficult. But yeah, absolutely, the guys like Tom Brady, Stephen Curry, Michael Jordan, right, Tiger Woods, all of these different athletes, they got great in the position that they're in because of repetition, growth. They're always studying. They're always trying to improve, and it's the same way. If you, as an entrepreneur and business owner, if you have that exact same mindset and you apply that, into your business or your entrepreneurship, right? In that journey, um, there's no reason for you to fail. Like at the very least, if you're training and you're working towards something to like that to be great, even and have such a audacious goal, right? Even if you don't hit that goal, you're still far better off than you were before, which is pretty cool, man. And I love the fact that you brought that up and explained it that way. My follow-on question for you, Caleb, how like uh, how and when did you get into the 10x community, and what gravitated you towards that?
Yeah, so the way I look at it is if you want to learn, you're going to want to learn from the best. So I would, no matter what the field is, what's the point of going to somebody who's, either just starting out or in the middle of like, well, I would go to somebody that has like the best results and learn from them. So I know myself, like I'm already in the real estate game. I got rental property, trying
Yeah,
to secure some more. And I
yeah,
wanted to know who's the best at it. So I did a lot of research on YouTube, and you start to, pick up people. And, one guy I was looking at, he does single family. And then I saw Grant, he was talking about the difference between single family, multifamily, and the reason why you want multifamily. There's a lot of benefits to it. That's a whole podcast itself. That's
yeah,
a whole show itself. But I saw Grant's success. I mean, from where he was, at
uh,
25, 26 years old, from that, I mean, we were able to hear from him in person, talk about his story at 10x stages last week. And it's just so incredible to see where he is now, multi-billionaire, making a huge difference, giving back with his foundation. So if I'm going to learn, I want to learn from the best. And that's how I got kind of connected with Grant, started going to his events, purchasing his programs. And he's one guy that I highly recommend. I mean, even just his affiliated programs like what you have going on with your partnership with Grant, I really recommend somebody get in on that because you're going to have more than a 10x return. And Grant's thing is 10x, but I can say personally, just from the amount of time I spent with Grant and his programs, with his coaching, it's definitely been way more than that. Not only just monetarily, but the amount of value from myself growing as a person. You just can't
yeah.
replace that.
You can't absolutely, you cannot, and you're right. Getting in these type of room, proximity is key, and having somebody that you can look up to and follow and emulate, like Grant Cardone, right? Not necessarily like the way he acts or anything, because not he's very polarizing and he knows it, and but he's done, you know, amazing stuff for himself. And you mentioned, in his mid 20s, he was lost, he was addicted to drugs, alcohol, and the whole nine. And the mind is so strong. When he shifted that mindset, and I don't know, learned the secret, whatever it is, whoever mentored him, coached him, and before to now, it's just amazing to see what he built, regardless of what people say. Obviously, if you're doing something great, you're gonna get haters, and there are gonna be some haters. Grant has some haters out there, that I've seen personally because I represent 10x and all that stuff. But um, you can't hate on what he built. And the great thing about Grant is he shares that to his community. He doesn't care because he already built what he needed to build, and he's already pretty wealthy. And the fact of the matter is, a multi-billionaire like him and Brandon Dawson, who is my other business mentoring partner, is the fact that they share their knowledge, right? Everything, they share everything. It's just up to you whether you're willing to take a leap of faith and invest in that in yourself, right? So that's pretty cool. Have you ever heard of the term, like you're the average, the five people that you surround yourself with, right?
Yeah.
If you've heard that, but before, and I grew up with humble beginnings, Caleb. So immigrated from the Philippines when I was like 11 years old. Um, Moved to California. I grew up there, went to school there. I went to a very bad public school. We weren't in the greatest side of San Jose, California, but nonetheless, I didn't let my surrounding like get get to me in a way to where it would have been permanent. So, and what I mean by that is I did get around to doing bad things as well, but I realized that I needed to get out of that environment. not knowing exactly how it could have been on the worst side. But I ended up, serving the U.S. Navy just like you. After high school, I said, you know what, I want to make something better of myself, and at the same time, I want to mature. So I ended up joining the Navy. 20 plus years later, I stayed and retired as a U.S. Navy veteran, but I'm still very young. But nonetheless, my mind was so tunnel vision because I was only focused on my rank, my responsibilities, and our mission. I didn't really think about wealth building, and all that until towards. Excuse me, so sorry. That's that's part of doing the live recording, but nonetheless, long story short, I didn't really get to shift my mindset until towards the end of my tour, man. So you're still very young, and you're already way ahead, um, and whether you're in the beginning stage of your entrepreneurship journey, but you're way ahead compared to most people as far as the shift in mindset. But that being said, the follow up question is like, when did your mindset shift that you knew you can do much better than what the matrix tells you to do?
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I want to go back to something you said, and then I'll answer that question. You were talking about, um, I don't want to lose it. It was a really good point that I wanted to make. Oh, that's what it was. So you're just talking about, your, comparison. So you're saying like, how I really appreciate you saying that, by the way. It means a lot. But like being like far ahead, comparison to like a lot of people. But one thing that I do, like everybody's different, but I'm always like comparing up. So like I'll look at like Grant and be like, I'm nowhere close. I'll look at like somebody else and like, man, I'm nowhere close. But you could also look down. You could be like, oh, I'm way farther ahead of that person. So the proper thing to do is really just to compare yourself to you. So I just like to look at me yesterday and be
Yeah,
like, okay, am I better today than I was yesterday? And if not, like, what can I do to like start improving? And it's like, it's micro adjustments over time. Like a lot of people try to make like these massive like changes up front. From what I've noticed, like things like last and like things that like, serve you over time is by making these little micro adjustments. Instead of trying to wake up like 2 hours earlier a day and like you do it for a week and then you drop off, just like, increase that, 10 minutes less sleep, each, or a 10-minute earlier wake up every single week, whatever that
yeah,
looks like for you. And then before you know it, now you've achieved that goal and it was consistently done. Without the consistency behind the target, um, it's going to fall apart. And then you're going to be constantly like doing that start and stop thing. And people will do that for years because they just didn't make that committed decision and make those little tiny micro adjustments. And also take the time to, I like to call it plan, do, and review. But at the end of each day, I like to look at the day. I think, what went well, what didn't go well, what can I do better tomorrow and prevent, I mean, obviously there's things that come up we can't control, but for the most part, if you're focused on things that you can control and eliminating any kind of, so if somebody realizes, hey, I'm scrolling on social media too much, you need to cut that back, whatever it is, whatever you
yeah,
need to eliminate and figure out what's holding you back from reaching that next and just cutting it out and replacing it with something else that's going to serve you and not take from you. But to go and answer your question, you were talking about when did like my mindset shift towards, the entrepreneur space, right? So I grew up, I didn't have anybody in the business field in my family. My grandpa, my parents, everybody just, was used to like a W-2 lifestyle. You go to college. That was like the thing to do. And it worked for a while, but
right.
unfortunately not anymore. With inflation, it's, people are waking up and realizing that, even with, partners both working together, it's still not enough income, to, purchase a house. Look at like the inflation with the cost of the housing market. So, I mean, I heard Charles Schwab say I think it was like a few months ago, he released an article where he stated that, you're going to be, you're really going to own nothing. You're going to be happy. And for me, I don't want that for me. I don't want that for my future family and generations to follow. So I just realized you just like kind of have like an awakening and you realize, is what you're currently doing going to get you to where you want to be?
Mm,
So first off, do you even know where you want to be? Why do you want to be there? And then see if your current path is going to take you there. There's no point of going down a path that's not going to lead you to where you want to be, right? You
yeah,
realize that quickly early on. You're like, okay, if I keep hanging out with these friends, I know where it's going to go. I got to change something. I got to change who I'm around. I got to change what I'm doing. And that's the great thing about the internet now and getting access to these podcasts, learning new information because information changes things. So for me, it was realizing that my current path as a police officer, Like,
Yeah.
yes, it was good, provide like a very basic lifestyle, but it wasn't getting me to the point where I can make generational change in my family and make an impact worldwide, like I see, Grant and other people doing. So when that happened, I had to shift and be like, okay, what space can I be in where I can help people in my grandparents' situation that lost a lot of money during the market crash in COVID-19, and then also still be able to provide enough financial wherewithal to make a big impact with my life. And
Yep.
I started out. Grant Cardone talks about sales. Sales is a great way to get started with that because you determine your own salary, you determine your own worth, and once you realize what your worth is, you'll never trade your worth in for an hourly wage, right?
Right.
So for
Right.
me, I was like, okay, I want to determine my worth. You try different things, you figure out what niches you want to be in because even though the sales industry is the right niche, it was okay, where in the sales industry do I want to be? So I tried a lot of different sales jobs. A lot of them didn't work out. But at the same time, I was building the skill set. That's something
Mm.
I didn't realize. Like when you're failing, even in the failing, there's a skill set that you're building that's going to prepare you for the right opportunity once you get to it. So for me, I had to do more research and dig deeper and be like, okay, it's financial services space. You hear Bradley talk about it, Patrick Bet David. It's financial services that it actually makes more millionaires than any other space that's out there. Even real estate, surprisingly, like that shocked me. So
Wow. Okay.
I got into the financial services space and I was with the wrong companies, it was the wrong structure. It wasn't a win for everybody. It was either like a win for the company or it was like maybe a win for the client or like the agent lost out. So I finally found something. I'm actually a part of Bradley's team with Real Financial where it's a win for the company, it's a win for the client, and it's a win for an agent. So I love it. I've tried a lot of different things out there. I'm super excited. Now we're really getting things rolling. We just partnered with this new company that's brought on 18,000 agents in 6 months just because they do that. They put the agent first, the client first, and the company benefits from that.
That's cool. And that this is Brad Lee's company, or he
Yeah.
has partnership with his company.
So Bradley's company is Real Financial, and he's partnered with another company, and they have the correct model, the correct blueprint. And when Bradley saw it, he's like, "Let's go for it. This is incredible." So he left the old platform that we had. I don't want to talk about bad about any companies and call them out, but we moved to this new platform here, and it's been incredible. It's been completely game changing. Was actually able to go out to Arizona last weekend. I'm over here on the East Coast in Tampa, and see Andy Elliott. Andy Elliott just partnered with this company as well, this platform. He wants to do the same thing that Bradley's doing as he sees the success in the financial services industry, especially right now. I mean, you talk to anybody, especially yourself, Jay, and you'd say like timing's everything in the market. So when it comes to business, you got more baby boomers. By 2030, there's going to be $78 trillion exchanging hands from these baby boomers. And it's a great opportunity to help them with their retirement, get them in a place where if the market goes down, they don't lose any of their money, any of that nest egg that they've worked so hard to build. But if the market goes up, they still get, participate in that side of the market. I rambled a little bit there, but I hope that answers your question, man.
No, no, you did, and I was just looking to see because there's somebody like that's knocking during the interview. But give me 1 second. Let me just pause. But don't worry, my team
Sure.
will adjust
Okay,
the.
we're good. Yep.
Hello. Oh, okay. Give me 1 second. Hey, how you doing? Morning, bud. You guys get in the back, right? Yeah. Yeah. One second. Yep. Bye. Bye. Caleb, 1 second.
You're good, man.
I completely forgot we had a tree trimmer coming in.
Oh, you're fine, dude. No sweat.
All right, give me 1 second. I'm back. I'm back. Um, all right, cool. But yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for explaining that, man. And follow up question. I mean, you got the peoples of like Andy Elliott, Bradley, PBD. It seems like you and I follow the same people. Obviously, they're great, plenty of knowledge, and they've done it all, right? Are these three like the people that you look up to, other than Grant Cardone, or do you have any other public figure that um, you follow and listen or watch?
Yeah, there's so many out there that I couldn't even like start to
Yeah,
go through the list. But I'd say like my top ones would definitely be Grant Cardone, Alex Harmozy. Everybody's got their own niche, right? Alex Harmozy's good at the marketing. I like to see some people that are really good at speaking. You got fitness coaches. So personally, there's this one fitness coach that I love. I work with him one on one. His name's
yeah,
Sean Green. He's out there in California too. He's great. He's really starting a movement. Tommy Mello, he's really good with like business structure. Andy Elliott. Then you got Brad Lee. I'm trying to like think of there's so many people in this
yeah,
space. I just like to go to the experts, and those are some of the experts that I follow on the regular, and just it's an encouragement too. I like to use my. A lot of people use their social media, and you can either like create or you can like intake that information. So with my social media, it's always just like positive motivation. So even if it's like a couple minutes throughout the day where I'm just like, hey, I just need like a little kick in the butt or whatever, pull some Andy Elliott videos, or maybe I need
yeah.
some help with marketing, and just like to spur my brain, I'll listen a little bit of Alex Hermosi. They got podcasts too that you can jump on. So I really enjoy those guys. I like their books. I think their books are excellent. I'm almost done with Bradley's book called The Hard Way, and it just
Okay.
breaks everything down to simple terms. And the nice thing about the book, it's not even like what's in the book itself, but I see that he didn't worry about it being a perfect book. There's typos, there's different things like that in his book, but the
Right.
information's good. So, like I was talking about earlier, done's better than perfect. If you have an idea, run with it, give the value. Who cares if it's not perfect? You can always fix it later on. But it's better to have the information out there than just to not start at all. And that goes with like these people at 10x stages. And a lot of them, haven't done anything really yet with getting onto stages, but it's better get yourself out there. I mean, I've made several different slips with, I said all these filler words and stuff like that during this
Yeah.
call, but it doesn't matter. It's getting out there, and the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Right. Absolutely. Frequency leads to greatness, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You just got to put it out there because I'm sure you already know this. Best known beats best. It doesn't matter if you're fairly new in the game, in the industry, in the business. If Grant says this all the time, if they don't know you, they can't flow you. Right.
Yes, I
So
love that.
you definitely have to put yourself out there and in regards to your brand and your business, you just got to get uncomfortable. But again, it's a matter of just doing it, right? Just do it, just like Nike, right? And so, yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Because a lot of these people I follow, I read their books. I definitely have to look into Bradley's. I like how he's very similar to Grant, although they're not very cool to each other anymore for some reason. I knew this only when I met Bradley because I attended another community event workshop, and I was wearing all my 10x gear, my 10x jersey, my custom name in the back, and
Right.
then Bradley, we passed through it, and then he's actually stopped me, and not necessarily stopped me, but he made a comment about my jersey and everything, and we ended up making a quick reel together. It's actually on my channel in my account. I'm gonna repost that just for the sake of this video, um, but it's pretty cool. I do like Bradley. He's done it, but he's very he keeps it simple, as far as the way when he explains things, and he keeps it real, which I like. Andy Elliott, I met as well. That guy, though, I attended an event, a different event where he was a guest speaker. Him and his wife, obviously they have an amazing place in Arizona, but he built, a nine-figure business from scratch. He too, not too long ago, was, he wasn't as successful as he is now. But you got the likes of Grant Cardone. Brad Lee, Brian Pineda, Andy Elliott, Alex Ramosi, and all those names, they all leverage being known, grabbing attention, and now because of that, and along with their business,
Hmm.
they all blew up. They stayed
Yeah,
consistent, and they all stuck at first. They all said the same thing. Like having a podcast like this. Like nobody's really listening when you first start, but you just got to stay consistent and repeat. And over time, people will know you, and then people will start flowing you. And that's one of the reasons why we teach our clients content marketing, and getting out of their comfort zone, putting themselves in front of a camera and provide value, just like this recorded podcast and conversation. You, Caleb, have said so many great things that as far as mindset, wealth, and growth and all that stuff. We'll put it out there for people to see and get inspired by, and then people are going to start like gravitating towards you, and like, all right, cool, I'm gonna follow Caleb because he's giving some value. Just got to do that every single day. Keep putting it out there. It's free marketing too, and eventually you're gonna get known. So best known beats best, right?
great. I was talking to one of my buddies the other day, and we were just talking about how in this space you plant a lot of seeds, and sometimes it feels like you're hitting walls and think things aren't working out. But
Yeah,
then years go down the road, and you start to see seeds that you planted years ago and you totally forgot about start to grow into these like beautiful plants. And I've seen that myself in this space where everything that you do, everything when you pour into yourself, your mind will eventually pour into your wallet. But
mm,
all these events that I've gone to, the connections I've made, it may not seem like anything up front. It may seem very minuscule, but the more seeds that you plant, the harvest is going to be incredible down the road. And you can't really, I tell people, really worry about your like what you want to do and why you want to do it, and then leave the when and how up to God, up to
yeah.
whatever higher power you believe in. But that's worked really well for me. It's just putting the work in, knowing what I want to do, why I want to do it, keeping that consistent action, and then know that the results will come over time.
I love that, man. So I want to go back to not necessarily just on the mindset aspect of things, but as a financial strategist, can you share some of the, I guess, some knowledge on like some of the programs or things that people like myself should look into and invest on?
Yeah, I'd love to. And I'd like to start it out by talking about the current state of things, like where people are at right now. And most Americans can relate to. They hear the word 401k, mutual fund, Roth IRA. These are very common words
Yeah.
that people recognize. A lot of them are like employer plans. Well, the problem is Forbes actually stated that the average from like the age 60 to 69, the average retirement account is only it's like 163,000 and some change.
Wow.
And they also released another article saying you need at least $2 million in retirement in order to retire and have like a decent retirement. So there's a huge gap right now with the current way that we're doing things. And most Americans that I've talked to are saying that they're living, paycheck to paycheck. I think it's
Right.
68% say they're living paycheck to paycheck. Most have never even sat down with a financial strategist to even take a look at where they're at, where they want to be, and build a plan that's going to actually get them there. I can guarantee you that, majority of people listening to this call that have a 401k can't tell me the name of their broker. They have no
Mhm.
idea who's managing their account.
Right.
So they're kind of just like trusting in what they've been told to trust without doing their due diligence. And, being a Christian, there's a lot of, verses in the Bible that talk about being a diligent, steward of what's been given to you. And to just like blindly trust somebody else with your hard work, to me is kind of crazy, just because it's been done for a while doesn't mean that it's going to continue to work or is working. It's actually proven it's not working right now. So where somebody like myself comes in is I like to sit down with people that have some discretionary income or building investments towards retirement, take a look at them and see if there's different vehicles we could move those funds into to get their money growing even faster and safer as well. Because it doesn't matter if our money's growing well, but if it's constantly up and down all the time, especially as we near those retirement years, it gets
Yeah.
very stressful. The news happens, last week the market goes down. I mean, all my clients are calling me, thanking me like, hey, I'm so glad my money's protected from these losses, because it's one of the biggest losses in the market. I think it was actually worse than COVID-19 a couple, weeks ago from what we experienced. So
Right.
I would say, depending on where you're at, I can't give you a certain strategy without looking at your particular situation. But there's several different things that we can look at. There's over 10 different ways that we help clients out when it comes to their finances. So if somebody is interested, you could, follow me on Instagram, shoot me a DM. It's Caleb Bull 33, Caleb Bull 33. Just shoot me a DM over on Instagram. I'd be happy to, sit down with you as a courtesy to Jay and have like a free financial strategy call with you to see if there's other options out there that would work better for you.
That's awesome, man. Definitely, I'm a big believer that we should invest in our future, and that's one of that's what I'm doing in different ways to diversify the portfolio. But ideally, though, like let's say an average American who's probably making about $5,000 a month, can they start looking into something like this to where you can help them, or ideally your ideal avatar or somebody that earns more to help them more, or what is it like? What's your ideal client?
That's a great question. So it's really hard to say what my ideal client is. As long as they have discretionary income, we can help them. I really personally, my favorite is to help those that are, about to retire or are in retirement and get them into an account that's much better protected and actually grows better for them just because of my story with my grandparents, right? But anybody that has some discretionary income, we can come in and we can help you. So you never even have to worry about that down the road. We're setting you up right from the beginning. So we talk to people, we sit down, we look at their discretionary income. We say, okay, how much do you want to put towards retirement? Most of our clients do about 20% towards retirement. On the low end, it's like 15, maybe people go 25, 30 on the high end. And then we just build out something for them. But you want to kind of like reverse engineer it. First off, I want to ask, how much do you want to have a month in retirement? At what age do you want to retire? And without having those answers to somebody's question, it's kind of hard to build a specific roadmap without the end in mind. I know Grant always talks about whenever you start something, think about the exit, right? So for us, we want to think about that exit in retirement and make sure that they're going to be set up well when it comes to those golden years. But yeah, anybody with some discretionary income, I'm happy to have a conversation with you. Just like I said, out of courtesy for Jay to see, how we can help you and get your funds growing even faster. And one cool thing that I'm doing personally is I got a property in New York that I'm liquidating. I'm going to move it down here. But before I do, I'm going to roll those funds right into one of my programs, pull it out again, and use it for an investment vehicle. Now my money's growing in two places at the same time.
Wow.
There's a lot of cool strategies that we can do. We work with infinite banking, family banking. Like I said, there's over 10 different ways that we can help people financially. So I'm really excited to talk to each of you and see where you're at and how we can help.
Guys and gals, listen, he's giving you a free strategy session. I think that's going to be very valuable. So make sure you hit up Caleb on all this because I think it's going to change your mindset and it's going to change your life. Stop living with scarcity, like that mindset, like, oh, I could only spend this. I got to put a lot of this in the savings because at the end of the day, because of inflation, your money's losing money just sitting in the bank. Might as well put it into something that's good that can help you multiply it. And Caleb is the somebody that can help you grow your finances and your investment and your future. But yeah, man, Caleb, thank you so much for being here and giving us some guidance and some tips and everything else. Um, Last tip before we let our viewers and our listeners go: um, if somebody who's watching this is aspiring to follow the path that you and I took, uh, as well as like our fellow veterans or even active duty members that are serving now and thinking when they get out, maybe they should get into entrepreneurship instead of being a W-2 employee again and making somebody else wealthy or rich. Like, what would you advise to somebody who's aspiring to be an entrepreneur but is too afraid to move forward?
Yeah, I would look at every single one that's successful out there. I mean, you got all the examples that are out there. You have yourself, Jay, me, Grant Cardone, all these people that are successful, and all of them had to take a risk. There's to
Yeah.
say that you can be an entrepreneur and not be a risk taker is a lie. Yes, you can limit your risks in business, but at the end of the day, it's going to take some risk on your part. So
Hmm.
it's going to be up to you personally what you're willing. I mean, what do you want? I go back to I say this all the time, but like, what do you want? Why do you want it? And are you willing to take the risk to get that first step and take that second and third and fourth step down the road to get yourself closer to that goal?
Right.
But I believe everyone can do it. I don't think that anyone is like you. I love talking to people like yourself, Jay. You came from the Philippines. You have this incredible story. 11 years old, came over to the U.S., starting from scratch, and now look at yourself and you're just crushing it. And you're just the story of thousands, if not millions, of people that have done the same thing. Thankfully, I've been blessed. I've had great parents, great upbringing. Was born in the U.S., but it really inspires me when I hear stories like yourself, Jay, that went through these things. I like there's a few motivational speakers. The one guy, he like doesn't have any arms or legs. I forget his name, and he's
Oh
making it
yeah,
happen. So yeah,
oh yeah.
so I get so inspired by people that are crushing it and making it happen, that earn like a place that don't have as many benefits as me or have the same starting place as me, but just wherever you come from, if you want it, you can get it. Look at Steve Harvey. Everybody, I love to listen to Steve Harvey. He's always encourages people. No matter what anybody tells you, you can make it happen. He talks about his school teacher and how she was telling him, like, you're never going to be anything. You're never going to amount to nothing. And then here he is. He's doing phenomenal for himself, and he's made it happen. So I just say go for it. You just know you're going to get bumps and bruises along the way, but keep those blinders on towards the goal. Avoid all the little pit stops along the way, and you're going to freaking crush it.
Dude, that's so cool. Caleb, I love your energy. I love your intellect, bro. And I'm definitely rooting for you as a fellow vet. And you're absolutely correct. If we can dream it, we can achieve it. We just got to take massive action, guys. So thank you to everyone that's watched this episode, who's listening. If you do enjoy this and you found value, please like and subscribe. Follow myself in our social media, as well as Caleb Bullard. Caleb, I am looking forward to your continued success and growth. I'm happy that we connected, and we'll be able to support each other moving forward, brother. And again, maybe we can have this interview session number two. And I'm even thinking, man, in my community of entrepreneurs, maybe I'll have you as a guest, virtual speaker, and educate us who's entrepreneurs and business owners, and how we can benefit by investing in our financial strategy. But other than that,
Yeah.
Caleb, again, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and an honor to have you here on the show. Um, and I hope that you and I can bring each other more, growth and success in the near future. All right, man.
Oh,
Caleb,
man.
thanks. I appreciate you, brother. And again, everybody, thanks for watching and joining us here. Until next time, peace.